Okay, here we go. This morning I was watching a video where it was a very good video, a woman talking about toxic shame, and she made the point that start again. Hi. I'm glad that you found this. I want to talk about a method that I've been developing, learning, using, whatever, to help me get clear on breaking bad habits, on standing up for myself. I have a tendency to be codependent. I tend to think about other people before myself. And unfortunately, that becomes such a habit that by now I a lot of times have a hard time knowing what I even want, because my default is just do what everyone else wants. And if they don't express anything, see if you can figure it out and just anticipate other people's needs. So that's my codependence. I'm working on getting beyond that. Anyways, so feeling stuck? Yeah, a lot of times I am. Go beyond good and evil, and then I've added temporarily, and that's very important. So what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times when I'm trying to make a decision, you can see in the background here, I've got all of these what, want, these little words in the background, but in the front, it's what I should do, and should is underlined. I sometimes say to people, don't should all over yourself. When I am having a hard time modifying certain behaviors, building better habits, breaking bad habits, I have learned through a lot of work and reflection and journaling and therapy that the thought of good and evil, is this a good thing to do? Is it a bad thing to do? Does this make me a good person? Does this make me a bad person? This article says I should do this. Should I do it? All of these good, bad, should, a lot of these moral judgments become stumbling blocks for me, because I'm codependent, because I want to measure up to what I should be. But anybody who's anybody, you know that there's a million competing standards, right? Some people are saying, oh, you've got to lose a bunch of weight in order to be healthy or be attractive. And some people say, well, weight there's a large genetic component, and it's really just important to be healthy. And some people saying, hey man, you only live once, live fast and leave a beautiful corpse. So there's all these different shoulds. I want to get in touch with, what does John think is a good idea? So that's why I'm saying, let's take good, evil, should, and all of those moral judgments, and we're going to put them up on the shelf. Okay? They're on the shelf. The shelf is stable. We can leave them up there. They will be there if and when we need them. Okay? But for now, we're going to retreat into a space inside of our heads where only actions matter. Because I want to know, what should I do in this scenario? So all I'm thinking about for right now is, what is the best. Sorry, I keep using. See, it's hard to get out of these moral judgments. I just want to evaluate the options before me before I even start talking about, is that the right thing to do? Is the moral thing? I just want to be able to look at what's really at stake here. So we're going to take that should and we're going to remove it. And now we've got this grid. I like having visuals. I created this for myself. I've been using the Eisenhower matrix for a long time. Not effectively, maybe, but see, there I'm going and shaming myself. This is a modification of that. Okay. Right away, you can see pretty clearly we're trying to figure out what groups want. The top two layers, those are hard to work through. Okay, because that implies what I want and what the group wants. That implies they're not a Venn diagram. I mean, in reality they are, but for our purposes, they can be very different things. The bottom, that's where everyone agrees. Okay, what we all want, whether that's we all want to go to the same restaurant tonight, we all want to see the same movie. Everybody in this household thinks that the temperature should always be above 72 degrees because anything under that is unlivable, which is insane because anything above, I'd say 65, 66 is moral and just, but that's a joke. So if we all agree, fantastic. We all get what we want. That is fantastic. Conversely, if it's what no one wants, maybe let's say you went to that restaurant and you've finished dinner and the person, the waiter comes around with the dessert cart. If nobody wants dessert, okay, great. Let's pay the bill and go home. There's no debate to be had. So if everyone's in agreement, those are easy peasy. So we'll just let those go for now because really we don't have to evaluate those. It's those top ones where we're going to need some support because it's a difficult process to sort out what I want, what the group wants. The reason this is important to me, I think a lot about evolution and evolutionary functions and how I operate as an animal, because in my experience, my thoughts, my ideals, all of these things, the thing that I say in my head, all of my conscious ideas, that's only one part of this complex animal that is John. And sometimes my mind and my body want very different things. We'll get into addiction in a minute. So being able to really sit down and say, okay, who's talking in my body? Who's talking? Anyways, from an evolutionary standpoint, and again, this is just how I think, every organism, we all know that we have an inclination towards self-preservation. It's not absolute. People sacrifice themselves all the time, I know. But in general, we tend to have a really strong impulse to act out of self-interest. If you're at all interested in anthropology, comparative religion, a lot of these things I've been reading about, we also have extremely, extremely strong instincts to preserve group cohesion. We want to be in because if we've had a bad month, we want to call somebody up to know that somebody cares and somebody is there. We all want to be a part of some community, okay? And we can be torn in different directions because those impulses, again, if you're anything like me, those impulses are so strong, both of those are so strong that a lot of times they're exerting influence on me that I don't even know is happening. So that's why taking a step back, putting moral judgments on the shelf, because again, sometimes those make the decisions harder to understand. We're just in the space of who is being served here. Which of these wants what I want primarily or what the group wants? If I think of myself as, Mr. Early Homo sapiens, and I want to think about, well, I really feel like just not going on the hunt and taking a nap today. I mean, it's like the grasshopper and the ants, right? Um, Initially, the grasshopper, who didn't do any of the work, he was serving his own wants to the detriment of the group. So he was choosing exclusively his own wants. The lesson there was he didn't choose any work. And so then when winter came, he didn't have any food, right? So he went too far to the one side or the other. So that's where, if we think about the grasshopper and the story of the grasshopper and the ants, he went way too far towards selfishness. He saw what the group was doing, but he didn't want any part of it. He didn't want to give up any part of himself. And so he suffered a consequence. Now, on the other side of going too far of what the group wants and ignoring what I want, that's codependence. That's when I start ignoring my own needs, my own wants, just by default, without even asking, is this a worthwhile thing? How much does it balance in the scales between group cohesion and self-preservation? All of these things. So realistically, we want to be somewhere in the middle. So if you begin to use this, I want to give you permission to make a mistake. Because the fact of the matter is, you're going to make a mistake. But if we start out of the gate thinking, I'm going to just absolutely crush this thing, I'm going to do it, a lot of times we don't even realize we're thinking it. But we think, I'm going to be the best wants box user of all time. And then the first time you have a disappointment, it can be really crushing. And we go, I don't want to go back to that again. So you're going to make a mistake. That's okay. I have heard it a million times, but for some reason, it only really sunk in last year. So there is a section in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous where it talks about building a relationship with whatever your higher power is, right? And it says over time, as we begin practicing this, of stepping out of the moment, checking in with some helpful reality, that practice over time will become more natural, will lead to better decisions. But the book actually says, foolish decisions. And that's okay. Yeah. We might break something. Our accidents have real world consequences. I'm not going to say they don't have consequences, but again, for right now, we've left morality on the shelf. Frankly, a lot of us need to leave it on the shelf for a while and just go, have I been selfish? Have I been ignoring what the group wants? Or have I been codependent and I spend too much time in the yellow box trying to figure out what other people want? What is it that I can do to get myself closer to the middle? If I tend to be codependent, then what I want is going to take the form of setting boundaries. Someone else wants something from me, but I realize that I can't do that right now without hurting myself, and I need to take care of myself right now. So I set a boundary. That is living in the middle. It's not selfish. Sometimes it feels selfish. Okay. I cannot emphasize that enough. Again, that's why we put morality, questions of good and evil on the shelf. Right now, all we're saying is my need for self-care outweighs this person's need for another hand. They've got 13 other people they can call. I don't need to be the only one that they call. Yeah, that's not selfish. That's just, you know what? I would love to help. I can't right now. That's setting a boundary. That's not selfish. Selfishness would be, you know, man, just don't ever call me again. I'm not really in the mood for helping. Or alternatively, anytime someone calls you for help, coming up with an excuse. So occasionally, we want to flip the script. Sometimes we're going to say, you know what, I am tired, but my friend needs help, and I feel okay. I don't feel totally strung out, burned out. Like I do have a little energy left. I'm tired, but I like seeing this friend. I know they're in a rut, or they need a hand, so I'm going to make the decision. So that's where we walk that balance, is making reasonable sacrifices or giving up things when there's an appreciable benefit to the group. Anyways, keep that in mind. Put shame on the shelf and ask yourself, whose wants are being served by the thing I'm looking at? My wants, the group's wants? Am I shifting too far to one side or the other? And how can I get in the middle? Sometimes that involves course correction. Maybe you've spent all week just caring for other people, and you are just, dead on your feet, about ready to collapse in tears. You're starving, and someone says, oh my gosh, we're setting up for a party tomorrow. Can you come help us put up decorations? That's circumstance specific, right? Yeah, on a good day, you said, yeah, I'd love to come and help set up for the party. But today you're exhausted. You don't have what it takes to go and do that thing that benefits the group. So you need to go home and do something that focuses on you. Now, there may be a time when you make that decision, I can't go out tonight. And you go home and you say, okay, you know what? Actually, I just sat down on the couch. I've been sitting for about 10 minutes. I had a glass of water. And actually, you know what? I do have more energy than I realized. Well, by then, maybe the party's all set up for. Like, maybe that chance has been lost. But number one, remember, we're giving ourselves permission to make mistakes. And number two, you can learn from it. You can course correct. Like, we're all constantly moving between these groups. That's just how it goes. So I know this has been longer than it needed to be, but give me feedback if you feel like it. If you don't, move on with your day. But you're better than you think you are, and you deserve to be kind to yourself today. And people around you like you more than you realize. Okay? Anyways, thanks so much. Talk to you soon.